Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. My name is Chris Alamo, and I am an amateur investor. This podcast is my open source journal of everything I learn about investing and wealth management. I'm here to explore the key concepts, market dynamics, and investing strategies that will assist you on the path towards financial independence and financial literacy. My mission is to build us from amateurs to experts. All suggestions are my own, and I recommend that you should do your own research before taking any investment advice. See you in this week's episode. I hope you enjoy. How's it going, everyone? This is episode 75 of the Amateur Investors. Pretty crazy week so far with Elon Musk finalizing his deal of Twitter. We've got controversy in the Bitcoin space with BIP, or Bitcoin Improvement Protocol 119, also known as CTV, which is Check, Template, Verify. One of the core devs, Jeremy Rubin's trying to push this proposal through very quickly. Personally, I'm not opposed to Check, Template, Verify, or CTV, but I am opposed to trying to force an upgrade or an improvement to Bitcoin that's not necessarily needed and or wanted, and just the standard and ethics of it without having a full real review. He's trying to force his upgrade into Bitcoin. So, very crazy week. So with Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter, let me pull this up real quick. So he ended up purchasing it for $44 billion. I think locking in $54.20 per share of Twitter stock. I think when you do it percent change, so let me just look at their stock real quick. Their percent change before this was announced. Let me go month. So their shares were trading at $39.31. So percent change. $39.31, changing to $54.20. So he increased the value to shareholders by 37.88% if you round to Twitter shareholder values in the course of the 11 days. Obviously, if you own the stock and you're being forced to sell it because of he's taking it over and basically buying your shares, maybe you're kind of annoyed, but getting returns of 37.88%, I mean, that's pretty good. In any given year, not saying that should be your whole portfolio, but I'd take that any day on any single given year for the returns. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I know it seems that a lot of people are kind of losing their minds right now on Twitter, claiming that with him being free speech maximalist, as he calls it, or using his own terms, that he says that anyone that he disagrees with should be able to comment or say whatever they want, regardless of how he feels about it. And that's kind of what he sees as free speech. A lot of people are trying to flip it, or I guess more left-leaning people, I hate even saying that, but people that are worried about this are basically saying that they worry about him doing this, that it will incentivize or promote bullying. I know that that's very interesting and weird. I know there's been talks to try and verify people. I'm kind of opposed to this. I know there's many people that, or journalists, or even people in the Bitcoin community that want to remain anonymous. They are real people and they are real accounts. They're not like, Jimmy 12678937421. They actually are real accounts. And they're, in order to prevent being removed, I mean, they don't want to have to verify themselves in order to use Twitter, but they also aren't spam bots, where, it's not like it's gotten worse and worse, I'd say, over the last year, especially in the last 6 months, that you see all these Twitter bots will, even from Bitcoin Magazine's account, when we post, there's a million bots that post right underneath us trying to scam people out of money, whether it's Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies or just even fiat money, saying, oh, send us 1 Bitcoin, we'll send you 2 back, or, we'll double the amount of Bitcoin if you send it to us. I hope people that don't get scammed with it, but even their scams on YouTube, that they're like all these live videos, they'll take old footage of either Elon Musk or Michael Saylor or Jack Dorsey, or just like any prominent person. And they'll have a little thing like, hey, if you donate money to this address, we'll double the amount of money instantly and send it back to you. And obviously that's not true. But, I think the report even came out that like millions of dollars has been tricked from people basically. And I think that was even per month of people that fall for this scam of sending them money. And, they basically get scammed. But Elon Musk, this is actually another big thing that happened very recently. He said that he wants to open source the code. And recently, Twitter, before locking down their algorithm to prevent employees from changing anything, like any malicious attacks of people, going in there and just breaking the code or doing something, the code was locked, but then they also opened up a GitHub page. With people that aren't familiar, it's very common in the Bitcoin space that you have a GitHub page, and it's the way that you can work on open source or open source coding. So if you're trying to change, like propose an upgrade, like a BIP or a bolt would be Bitcoin on the Lightning. Now I'm drawing a blank what bolts are. Bitcoin, let me look this up real quick. Bips and bolts. Hold on. Basis of Lightning technology. My bad. That's what a bolt is. But when you're trying to do upgrades, normally you have to download what is currently already there, whatever that code is, and then you're trying to work to implement something on top of it. It's basically like a massive way to try and do, it's like a gigantic Google Doc that everyone's trying to work on simultaneously, but you kind of want to leave the main code there, and then people draw from it, work on their own, and then they try and push. It's, a pull request is when you pull it, push is when you try and push to them in order to implement the changes that you've recommended on your pull. So yeah, pretty historic news. Looks like it's going to go through. I know many Bitcoiners were joking. If you were to buy $44 billion of Bitcoin right now at the current price, if we were to look at that, so 44, oh my gosh, a lot of money. That's billion divided by the current price of $40,328. He could buy 1,091,053 Bitcoin if he just, instead of buying Twitter, just bought Bitcoin, which when you're thinking of a digitally scarce network that there's only ever going to be 21 million. And if you think that this is going to become the global reserve currency, he kind of looks like he vastly overpaid for Twitter. I understand we're kind of normalizing that to a fiat amount of $44 billion. But yeah, it's just crazy. It just goes to show how inflated we are in the world. Look at housing prices, look at the stock market, look at all these different things. I know a lot of them have taken a dip as of late. I guess maybe housing prices hasn't. They're still up there, and normally they're a trailing indicator that they come down last compared to the bond market, followed by the stock market, followed by real estate a couple months later. But nonetheless, I mean, it's a lot of freaking money. I know he's worth like $230 billion, and now he just bought Twitter for, he bought Twitter for $44 billion. That you can't even fathom that much money. I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm kind of, like I said, opposed to him trying to implement authentication of humans. Like I'm myself on Twitter, but there's definitely journalists in locations that don't want to be revealed, that in threat of being harmed in other countries or killed or kidnapped or doxxed. I just think there's a privacy component that, you want to be on there. I know Michael Saylor has brought up before that maybe you put 50,000 sats, which sats are parts of a Bitcoin. There's 100 million sats in one Bitcoin or Satoshis. So what, 50,000 sats right now is like $25. Yeah, let me do the quick mental math. 50,000 sats divided by $20. So if Michael Saylor recommends that if people have to buy Bitcoin and then put it into like an escrow on Twitter, you get an orange check mark verifying that you're a real person. Now, let's just say you were to say something heinous or really bad or ridicule someone or whatever. People could collectively vote to see whether you should retain that. And whether it's a 50-50 split, maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe it's got to be 70-20 or 70-30 or 80-20. If 80 people vote that what you said was really bad, then ultimately you lose the money and your account gets de-verified. And that's a way of blocking people. I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to think about it, but it's just very interesting to try and think outside the box. But yeah, I mean, Elon Musk is, I don't even know how many, the three companies I think of right now four is, obviously he runs Tesla, he runs SpaceX, the rockets trying to go to Mars, and then also runs the Boring Company. They're trying to tunnel and bore into the ground in order to do tunnel networks to try and make cities more livable and easier to get around with compared to using roads. So now he's throwing Twitter CEO or Twitter owner on his list. The dude doesn't sleep as it is, it seems, and maybe he's stretched too thin. I know in his latest statement, he was saying that as of right now, no one's planning on being fired, which is interesting, but he said there is definitely a hiring freeze. I think this is just going to give him some time to see and assess what needs to be done. And then ultimately he's going to try and do whatever he wants. Maybe he'll leave Parang on as the CEO of the company. It'll be interesting to see. But that's the current CEO of Twitter after Jack Dorsey officially stepped down. I think Jack Dorsey officially stepped down Friday or maybe sometime this weekend, but very recently, Jack's new title is Blockhead, or the head of Block, which obviously has Square, which has Cash App, which has TBD, which is, his open source thing that's still yet to be named. And yeah, Spiral rolled into it. I forget, but yeah, Jack's kind of really diving into the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's very interesting. Moving on to CTV, or Check Template Verify by Jeremy Rubin, or it's also commonly known as BIP, BIP-119. Check Template Verify. So I've been doing some research. We're actually holding a Spaces tonight, Twitter Spaces tonight, ironically, talking about this topic and what's going on. So Check Template Verify is basically an improvement to the Bitcoin protocol that's going to have people or allow people to basically, it's very interesting, but it's basically like when you send Bitcoin, I have Bitcoin on my hardware wallet or wallet on my phone or whatever it is, and I sign a transaction like I'm sending to another wallet. So let's just call him Jimmy. So I send money from myself to Jimmy. And when I sign the transaction, I'm basically in the background, like you don't know that it's happening. When I'm sending money from me to him, the private keys that no one sees but my device or myself is signing the public key or the public message and saying, send this amount of Bitcoin. So let's just, for simple example, for numbers' sake, let's just say I have 2 Bitcoin and I want to send 1 Bitcoin to Jimmy. I'm going to sign and say, send 1 Bitcoin of 2 Bitcoins that I own to Jimmy. And by doing so, the 1 Bitcoin gets released from my custody or my wallet over to Jimmy, whatever the fee is. And so that's like, you're signing and you're sending the transaction. Check Template Verify is doing something that allows you to basically put in not discrete law contracts, but basically to put smart contracts on Bitcoin. So a perfect example is, let's just say I want to lock up the Bitcoin for 6 months. Let's just say we have a bet. Me and Jimmy have a bet about who's going to win the Super Bowl. And let's just say it's August or September. The season for the NFL is just about to start or hasn't started yet. And he's going to pick, someone from the NFC is going to win. And I pick someone from the AFC is going to win. So that way, like, we know that it's going to confirm. So we have to wait 6 months, but we lock up the Bitcoin. So we both would send it and lock it up, that Bitcoin. And then after 6 months, it's checks, okay, did an AFC team win the Super Bowl or did an NFC team win the Super Bowl? If AFC and I picked it, it goes to me. If NFC, it goes to Jimmy. So basically, it's a way of like locking up that you can do one transaction and put it into the mempool, which is where transactions go to wait before they're confirmed in mining through the blocks. Or you could lock it up for whatever reason. I want to lock this up, like send this to an address to lock up for 20 years because it's inheritance planning or something like that. That's not really the controversy. I think it's kind of cool. I don't think it's needed. I think you can do that with various multi-sigs or various ways to prevent people from using it or custodying it. And there's various things you can do to prevent from moving transaction unnecessarily. Where it gets interesting is he really wants us to go through and he's trying to find consensus. We always talk about the Bitcoin community getting consensus. Now, what does that really mean? Hard to tell, what does getting consensus means? It means you're trying to get everyone to agree that this is a good thing to do. And this is what you want to do. And this is what the majority of people, more than the majority of people, want to do. So what he was first trying to do is he was trying to propose it to the main core devs or the maintainers of Bitcoin Core, or the people that are maintaining it on a day-to-day basis and keep making sure that nothing breaks. And in doing so, a lot of the maintainers or Bitcoin Core are just kind of like, that's kind of cool, but like we have no need for this. Like we have other things that we want to work on that we want to get in first. And from like, I'm not going to put words in my mouth or but obviously Jeremy being a developer, he wants it to get implemented into Bitcoin. So he's pushing for his own work, which I get. Like you want credit to it, you want to implement this. Maybe there's features that he wants to use on this betting or smart contract or whatever it may be. And so from now, like he's trying to push it in, and many of the people are like, hey, like we really appreciate this, but it's not time to put it in. We haven't had time to look at it. We don't want to do this. And I can see there definitely being someone that's trying to get something done. You're getting frustrated that your thing's not getting implemented. So what he tried to do is what exactly was done for Taproot. So for those of you that don't know Taproot, going more into it, is an upgrade to Bitcoin that it helps improve privacy. So and it went the speedy trial route, which means that a lot of the Bitcoin nodes, Bitcoin users ultimately wanted Bitcoin Taproot to activate. So what we did was called the speedy trial, which is the main developers, me, myself, who runs a node, or any Bitcoiners that have nodes, opted that we think this is a good thing. It's good for privacy. It's good for Bitcoin. And we want it to be implemented now. For the miners, they have to upgrade to this new software. So what we did was we started signaling. After a couple months, we started signaling and sending out, hey, miners, you need to upgrade your machines because this is coming. And we needed at least 90% consensus of all miners, or at least miners and the mining pools, in order for this to go through. And a lot of people in the Bitcoin community were kind of, I don't want to say bullying miners, but like a lot of the big mining operations were leery about implementing this. And ultimately, we were able to, the Bitcoin community was able to force an upgrade that 92% of the miners cleared before August. I think it started signaling in end of May of last year. It started signaling, and I think we cleared by June. So instead of going to August, we finished by June. And August, they said they'll do it. And then I think it released in either September or October of last year for Taproot saying like, yep, we're ready to start signaling. We're ready to do it. And this is, when you're having at this point hundreds of millions of users on Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin in general, it's tough to get consensus to get people things to change. And I know Pete Rizzo is one of my coworkers. He wrote an article for Forbes recently talking about the differences in Bitcoin. There's monetary maximalism, which means that you think Bitcoin is the best and hardest money of all time, and that it doesn't need any changes. It just needs to keep being what it is, don't break, and just stay the same. And that's the best thing for Bitcoin. Then there's platform maximalists, which are people that believe Bitcoin is quite literally the best platform, meaning that it's better than Ethereum, it's better than anything else, and then anything else should be built on it. But with that, we should keep building and changing and improving and doing different things. I'd say that this is a very dangerous mentality to have, because if you're a platform maximalist and you think it's the best and you're constantly changing it, while I do believe improving and trying to change and make things better is good, but if you slip up at anywhere along the process of implementing something that causes an inflation bug, that breaks the code, that makes Bitcoin not work, that causes causes a hard fork that we didn't want, or something weird to happen, well, then the best platform that you did have is no longer there. And then it becomes, well, do we revert to what we just had? Do we stick on the new one? Like, what happens? It gets very complex when you're running a decentralized currency, cryptocurrency, that's trying to act as the global reserve status or global reserve currency for the world. So very, very interesting. And yeah, so I guess, like I said, I don't have any qualms or issues with CTV. I do kind of have qualms with Jeremy trying to push it through, and, really looking forward to talking to him tonight about breaking that down, what CTV is. Maybe I misexplained it, but this is at least from what me reading it that I've kind of learned about it. And seems very cool. But yeah, it's definitely, if Jeremy were able to do this and CTV and all his supporters were to push this through, it kind of sets a very dangerous precedent that if someone else, a bad faith actor, or even if Jeremy's a bad faith actor, I'm not saying if he is or isn't, were wanted to get a change that could harm Bitcoin, they could do so through exactly the means that he has set forth before. I want to check, but I believe he was trying to signal in 2 weeks that we're doing a speedy trial, exactly that, like trying to signal and trying to force miners and node operators to vote whether they put CTV in or not. And I think he did retract it, and it's not going to go through on May 5th like it was originally planned, or like that he just pushed the other day, either May 5th or May 6th. But so that would be in 2 weeks. By the time you're listening to this on Wednesday, it'll be a week and a half. But yeah, I mean, very interesting stuff. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I got for today. I apologize for not having another guest. I'm looking forward to bringing on some people starting either next week or the following week. So just another solo episode teaching you about Bitcoin, about Twitter, about all that stuff that is fun. So thanks so much for listening, guys. Yeah, feel free to hit me up on Twitter and, make sure that you get your tickets for Bitcoin 2023. We have not determined the location and or date or time, but they're the cheapest they're ever going to be. You can get a GA pass for $249, and you can get a whale pass, which is all encompassing white gloves treatment at the Bitcoin conference for $4,999. Just to give you an idea, right before the conference kicked off, GA tickets were going for over $1,000 was what their retail value was that we were selling them for. And whale passes were going for over $20,000. So if you want to get in on it now, this is, a 75% discount to what it was compared to, at the conference day just a couple of weeks ago. So I think it's a really good deal, and prices will be going up on May 1st. So you've been warned. You can go to b.tc/conference/2023 to check out your tickets. You can get them with fiat and or Bitcoin. We accept either one. And that'll be it. Have a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, whenever you're listening to this. And I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.